There's something deeply funny to me about how much Marathon has gotten its hooks into me. Because if you had to ask me before launch whether Bungie's making a PvP focused extraction shooter sounded like my kind of game, I probably would have told you not really. And that's weird to say because I'm an absolute Bungie nut. I am a self-admitted embarrassing amount of time, I have to admit, to Destiny. We're talking over 1,500 hours into Destiny 2 and about several hundred into the first game. And I can look those numbers up on their sites or on those many sites that show like character history, player history. But I say that to say that kind of time does something to your brain. Good or bad, we're still figuring out. My therapist and I are sorting through this. But it means also that I know Bungie's strengths almost on instinct at this point. I know how good they are at making guns feel incredible. I know how good they are at building worlds that feel mysterious and bigger than what you immediately understand. And I know they have a history of taking familiar ideas and pushing them in a way that feels just strange enough to stand apart. So when Marathon started becoming a real thing again, I was curious. But I was not excited. That is an important distinction because curiosity got me in the door. But excitement was not what carried me there, at least not at first. Because on the surface, Marathon looked like the kind of game I was kind of moved away from. Not because I don't like multiplayer games, but because I don't really come to Bungie for high stakes, lurking around corners, losing all your stuff's kind of PvP tension. And when I think about multiplayer I really enjoy, it was always like the Iron Banner stuff or the team deathmatch, capture the flag, the Halo kind of chaos. Just straight up confrontation, who gets most kills, that kind of stuff was always my jam. Extraction shooters are a different beast. And I've talked about this before with like arc raiders, but you load in, you bring your gear, you risk your gear, try to get out with more than you came in with, and if you die, whatever you brought, you lost. You lost whatever it is, you lose what you found, and your gain is someone else's loss, and their gain can very easily become yours. And I understood that. I understood what Marathon was trying to be. But when I first was playing it, I don't think I really connected with it on that front the way I did with arc raiders. Part of what is just the nature of extraction shooters, they ask a lot of players right away. But like Marathon also layers in a very specific Bungie kind of friction. It has a bold visual identity, a striking aesthetic, an incredible sound, strange terminology that is oftentimes very confusing, shells, contracts, factions, corporate weirdness, cyberpunk lore everywhere, not always in a way that feels immediately readable. It just throws it all at you. And I think there's a real difference between mystery and overload, and this game shows you that mystery and overload in that experience. And at first, Marathon felt a lot more like Overload. It looked cool as hell. I liked the tone, I liked the music, I liked the vibe. There was something about the world that just kept poking my brain and said, no, something's here. But moment to moment, I was looking at it and it's like, okay, is this actually for me? I don't know. And the answer for a little while felt like no, it wasn't. And then I was kind of ruminating on it and thinking about it, and something about how I listened to someone online talk about it just changed how I approached this whole game. They basically reframed it for me in a way that says stop thinking about this as a PvP extraction shooter first and start thinking about it as a story-driven one. And that sounds simple and it sounds weird, but for me, that kind of reframing and, still holding on to that curiosity unlocked something. I don't know what it was. But because once I really kind of like stopped treating every run like I needed to be some clean competitive success story, the pressure changed. I stopped obsessing over whether I was extracting perfectly or whether I had won in the way I thought the game wanted me to win. Which is very much, again, extraction shooter. You're like, winning is getting out with the loot. But winning, to me, became something different because you're a shell. There's no cost for the lore of this game for you to keep like being brought in. They're incentivized to. You're contracted to through these missions that the world is giving you. Who's giving me these contracts? Why are they asking for this? What do they each faction do differently, and what do they represent? What's this world in? What are you doing this all for? Why am I this expendable shell being thrown into these spaces over and over again? And that pull of that tension was way more compelling to me than the pull of the extraction shooter. And that's where Marathon really became interesting to me. Because underneath that kind of extraction shooter structure, there was something really fascinating in the Bungie sci-fi world. You're basically working as a mercenary for these different corpos, and they each have their own ideological like power, friction, push and pull. Each faction has its own personality and values and motives, and the way they translate to gameplay is fascinating because they each encourage a different type of behavior. The rebellious group is trying to get you to just destroy everything. The very aggressive hunter type of group is very much trying to incentivize you to be a chase other enemy players, like real players, as opposed to NPCs. Each group has like a motive or scanning the environment for resources. And that's kind of like that conflict that I was like really sinking my teeth into. And I was like, this game is trying to tell me something about the world, the people, and the systems kind of running it. And it works. It started to scratch a part of the brain that like early Destiny did, where it was doing something new in a new kind of format. It was trying to do like the shooter RPG thing with Destiny, but the lore behind it was weird, and some of it made sense, some of it later made sense because they course corrected, and half of the joy was like making sense and heads and tails of all that, and what's the lore and history behind it that was like cryptically giving it to you. And the more I applied that knowledge and that kind of thinking to Marathon, the more I could care less about this being an extraction, the shooter, and the more I started to look at it as this is a marathon. This is Marathon. This is Bungie's game. And that Bungie game framing over extraction shooter framing really opened the doors for me, like I've been saying, of like how I'm engaging with it and what I'm taking out of it and why I'm wanting to do it. Like the music alone is like this Ghost in a Shell cyberpunk kind of Blade Runner-esque kind of stuff that like just leans into so many different ways, and I've found it so interesting and so fun. And it's such a weird dichotomy to what Arc Raiders is, because Arc Raiders was like this weird experiment in a different way. It was really trying to, what I vibe with that was so much of what is the social experiment of it all, because like proximity chat in this game in Marathon was a thing a lot added later when players really were pushing for proximity chat, but it was never part of the initial intent. Arc Raiders was always part of the intent in that they wanted you to feel like, hey, is there trust? Can we be at peace, and can we navigate this? Every encounter of Marathon, if you see another player, you either just avoid them or you shoot on sight if you feel like you can take them. There's no can we get along. This is a very different kind of dialogue that it's having, which is new to me in that, again, reminding myself this is an extraction shooter, how starkly reframing what these extraction shooters are. Nothing about what them being extraction shooters is what's compelling me to want to play them. It's the other parts of them, the complete overhaul or reframing of what it's wanting me to engage with. And I think much like Arc Raiders, finding this other thing about what makes Marathon so good and so engaging is these other qualities. And I'm like, man, I want to see them fully flesh that out. I know it's been having a rough launch. I mean, it's successfully started, but it's been dramatically dropping since. And I know it's abrasive because I myself went through how hard it was to just comprehend what's going on. You get a lot thrown at your face. And it wasn't until I actively wanted to seek it out that I started to really engage with it. And now that I'm engaging with it, it's like all I want to like sink my teeth into. I want to listen to the music. Music is fantastic. I've been listening on the albums and everything. The worlds, I've been watching all these vid docs and cinematics of all the different factions and the different shells you play as well. And just every bit of this game I want to really just inhabit, and it is harkening in a way back to that Destiny feel of like, I threw myself at Destiny. Will I put 1,500 hours into this? I highly doubt it. But when I do think about it and spend time with it, it's that fun engagement that I was getting when I was in my prime with like Destiny. So if you bounced off Marathon, honestly, I get it. I do. But I just wanted to share the reasons it stayed with me. And I think it's that it's a game that gets better once you stop asking if it's just another extraction shooter and start engaging with it like it's a Bungie game. And when that clicked, I think it clicks for many people maybe, and it clicked hard. So that's where I'm at with Marathon. I kind of wanted to share my thoughts and impressions and my general just journey of discovery, because it went from this weird curiosity to now just like I really enjoy it, and I enjoy it on my terms and on terms that I don't think it was initially presenting. And it's a game I didn't expect to be into like this, and a game I don't fully understand. But I connected with the Bungie aspects, and I found my thing. So, I guess I posed the question to you: do you find ways to engage with games that you are a little bit unorthodox or not on the terms that you think the game is trying to get you to engage with it? Did you do that with Marathon? Did you bounce off of it? I'm really curious what kind of ways you engage with your games, and if it's like through the way it's asking versus your own way. But let me know in the comments. And again, always appreciate you joining and watching my videos. Until next time, I'll catch you on the next